Hey everyone, Mark from Teacharium here. Today we're going to take a look at how to use Teacharium to create a learning inventory for students so they can figure out how they learn best. During this, we're going to be heavily relying on the AI tools to kind of show them off. It's not necessarily a best practice to rely on them that much, but but it's more of a technology demo than a best practices demo. So here I am. I just created my new lesson. By default, we have our first section and step, and I'm going to jump over to the abstract. The abstract is an author-facing document that describes what we want in the lesson. The AI can use it to build out the lesson, but also human authors can refer to it to make sure they're hitting all the learning objectives or all the content pieces they want to hit. It's just a great way to organize your thoughts. We're actually going to use the AI to help us create that. I've created a prompt here that says, create my lesson abstract. I want a 9-question would you rather survey for grade 8 students, and so on and so forth. I make sure to tell all the categories that I want it to hit, and I'm going to tell it what kind of format I want the questions in. So we're going to go ahead and do that and let that start thinking away. Now, just generating an abstract like this and using it wholesale, like I said, probably not a best practice. This is probably where your instructional designers spending quite a bit of their time figuring out exactly what questions they want and exactly what the learning goals and what exactly what the learning goals are. But for this demo, we're just going to kind of take it. So here we go. I got my abstract. I got my questions. So question 1, when starting a new science unit, would you rather conduct experiments right away or read about the theories and principles? Yeah, that's the kind of question I was going for. Let's make sure I got 9 of them. Yep, there they are. I'm going to add some style guidelines in here too. Let's try to spell it right though. And this is going to give the AI some hints when it's actually building out the content and what I want it to use. So I want to use this or that components for prompting. Those are a built-in component in Teacharium that kind of lets a user pick between multiple options, and it has some logic in there for like incrementing variables depending on what they picked and stuff. We'll not worry about that too much right now. Also, I find the AI really likes to put question 1 of 9, question 2 and 9 on the top, and I don't want that here. So don't show any extra progress info like question 1 of 9. Those are the 2 style guidelines I think I need for this. Now, like I was saying, the this or that component stores its information in variables. So if I go up here to the variables tab, I can see I have no variables right now. But I want to let the AI go ahead and create those. So create the variables I'll need for this lesson. And it should create those 6 variables that we're going to need. There we go, successfully created 6. If I go look here, I can see they're all here. These are my categories: collaborative, exploratory, hands-on, and so forth. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go back to the chat here. I'm going to go to my list view. This, like I was saying, is the structure of the lesson. Steps are where it all happens. So each step is about 1 screen worth of content. Sections, just organized steps. So I'm going to get rid of my default one because I'm not going to need that. And I'm going to go ahead and ask my AI to create a step for my first question and generate the content for it. Now, whenever the Teacharium AI is going to make edits to your lesson, it's going to ask you first. So here we are. Do you want to create this step? Yes, I would like to create it. It went and created it. Now I'm in the step editor for that step automatically. But it's going to keep going here. And then it's going to ask me if it wants to generate the content for it. So yes, I would like to generate that content. This opens up an extra window. This is like a specialized agent for creating individual steps. It also lets me make sure that the step is kind of what I want before actually accepting it and saving it. So here, when starting new science unit, would you rather? I got my 2 options. I'd really like those to be next to each other instead of vertically. So I'll just tell it to go ahead and make that change for me. There we go. And this is pretty close to what I want. You know what? I want some emojis in there just to make it a little more fun for the student. Oh, looks like it had a little bit of trouble there trying to edit those emojis. But it is going back and recreating it, and there we go. So it figured it out in the end. So here's my prompt. Here's my question, my 2 options. They have emojis. So we're going to go ahead and save this. That pops me back into the step editor here. And from here, I can manually edit things. Things look pretty crowded to me, so I'm going to add some margins just by editing my prompt here. I'm going to throw in some margins. And then I'm also going to throw in some margins to my this or that component here. I'll do some nice big ones. Yeah. So now that's looking a lot better to me. Now, by default, when a learner is going through this lesson, they'll go to each step, they'll be able to interact with the items on it, and they'll have a next button down the bottom they can hit to go to the next step. I actually want to just auto advance when they pick one of these. So we have a special component called the auto advance. I'm going to pull that down and put it into my step. If I go into the options there, I want to advance when all the items are attempted. I'm going to throw a little delay in there, like just a quarter second. Makes it feel a little bit better. And I want it to disable the next button while that's happening. So now, when the student comes in, they'll see the prompt, they'll pick it, they'll auto advance to the next step. That sounds pretty much like the pattern I want to take for the rest of the questions. Now that I have the first question the way I want it, I want to go ahead and start generating the other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and tell the AI to duplicate the first question and then edit it for the second question. I'm going to make sure to tell it to keep the existing format. What should happen is that the AI is going to go ahead and it's going to ask me to duplicate the first step. So the first step was question 1 science unit. It's going to duplicate it to question 2 group project. I'm going to say yes, go ahead. I still have the science unit information in here because it was just a duplicate. And it's going to go ahead and generate the step based on the changes we want. So it's telling it to update it. We can see that as it's going, the prompt just changed and the options are going to change in just a second. There we go. And it's going to tell me what it did. I'm going to go ahead and save and close that. And that worked out really good. So I had my second step. So now that it knows how to proceed, I'm going to tell it to do the rest. So create the rest of the questions in the same way. Now, sometimes the AI will want to do a whole bunch of things at once, in which case you'll get a whole bunch of prompts like this, and we can either click on them all or we can hit this confirm all button. So I'm just going to go ahead and confirm all, and it's going to go through and duplicate all those questions or duplicate all those steps for me. And then after that, it's going to try to go through and generate the content for all those steps. And again, it's trying to generate a whole bunch at once. And I'm going to confirm them all. And that's going to pop open this dialog. And it actually popped it open for all the questions at the same time. They're just kind of behind this one. So it's working through all those steps in parallel at the same time. You can see right here, the one visible is the last one. So the question 9. Great. So it updated my prompt for an art project. Would you rather? Yeah, that looks good to me. So I'm going to save and close that. And then I see the next window that was open, and I'm going to go through and just kind of save all of these. Now, if I was a real instructional designer, I would go through and check all the different options and make sure they're right. But for this demo, we're just going to kind of take it as it was. Now, unfortunately, there's a bug in Teacharium right now when it's duplicating steps that it doesn't necessarily put them in the right order. But I left that bug in there just so I could show you a quick feature. I can ask the AI to reorder my steps too. And put them in the right order. We'll have this bug fixed by the time you use it. There we go. It asks me, do you want to put them in this order? Yes, I want them in that order. And now we got questions 1 through 9 in the order they're supposed to be in. I could have asked for any order. I could have said, alphabetical or reverse order or whatever, but, we just want question 1 through 9. So now I want one more step for my results. And I think on that step, I want to put a radar chart because I got these, 6 categories and it would make sense. So create a radar chart with my 6 variables. I do want the value of each of those to be like 1 plus the value because a radar chart looks kind of bad when all the values are 0. So let's tell it to do that too. And we'll go ahead and let it create that step for us and then generate the content and see what happens. All right, there we go. We get our results, your learning style results. We got hands-on, theoretical, and so forth. That looks pretty good. I'll save that. So now here's my step. I can click on this and make sure it looks right. So here's my data points. And if I open one of these up, I can see that the hands-on is hands-on plus 1. That makes sense to me. Okay. Now that we've built all that, we can hit the play lesson. And we can actually go and play the lesson. I didn't customize the start screen at all, so it's just a start button for now, but you can customize this. So now, learning inventory. When starting a new science unit, would you rather conduct experiments right away, read about the theories? I'm going to do that one. And you notice as I clicked it, there was a little tiny short delay and then it advanced to the next one automatically. And that was our auto advance component. For group project, I prefer to do my individual section. I like step-by-step examples. English class, let's see. I think I'd like to act. For studying before a test, I prefer studying alone. During a history during a history lesson, would you rather have, oh, I like checklists. In gym class, would you rather I practice when working on homework? Would you rather no distractions, please? Follow specific instructions or I want creative freedom. So there we go. I went through and I answered all the questions. And then based on those the variables were incremented in the different categories, and I see a radar chart at the end. Now, in our next demo, we're actually going to replace this radar chart with a custom component that will more closely be exactly what we want to display to the learner for our product. Thank you.